In the beginning, a man is shown throwing in the dustbin after being badly beaten up. The man was beaten up badly. His hands and feet were also tied. Meanwhile, a man is shown standing in front of the dead boy, seeing him being furious. He was clenching his fists. The scene cuts and shows a graveyard, showing that the man's funeral was taking place there. The man standing in front of the body is shown in the graveyard, and a woman was standing beside him. This lady was a female police officer. Meanwhile, two men are shown standing at a distance, and one of them was named Wessam. There was his friend with him. Actually, they were police officers, and the man who died was also a police officer. The man we saw at the start was talking to the female officer. He says, "We will take revenge on whoever has ended him." The fire of taking revenge for their companion was burning in them. They meet the mother of their companion officer, and she asks them to take revenge for her son. "End the person who has ended my son," she pleads. The scene cuts, and the officer who was standing in front of the dead body comes to a man in a narrow street. The man was placing cold drinks in his van. The officer hits the cold drink bottle on that man's head. The officer was hitting him badly and asks him, "Where is the man?" "The man who has ended my companion officer brutally." The man doesn't tell the officer anything, and the officer becomes enraged. He beats the man a lot, and the public gathered there. The public asks why they are beating the man. Then one of them shows his ID and tells them, "We are police officers, so let us do our job." The man who was being beaten tells them, "Your companion was ended by a criminal. He lives in a huge building. But he says, it isn't easy for you to go there." He tells them the location because he is afraid of being beaten. The officers are shown moving to that address. Reaching the building, they wear masks. They load their guns, and upon reaching there, they notice 2 to 3 men at each entrance. There was an entrance, and a man was standing there. One of them talks to end that man. Meanwhile, an officer says, "We can't end anyone, and we came here to end that Don. The Don who has ended our companion." Saying this, the officer moves forward. He hits the man, and he faints while falling down. But another officer takes out his knife and ends the fainted man. He makes the other officer understand, "Listen to me, we have none here." They were moving inside the building. Meanwhile, a door opens, and a man with glasses appears from it. He was holding a shotgun. He asks them, "Who are they?" The officers become tensed hearing this. Then an officer shows his ID and says, "We are police officers." The man says to the officers, "You have come here to catch the drug Don. Let me go with you, and I also want to catch that Don. I want to end him." But the officers say, "No, sir. Do your job, and let us do our job." The man was not intimidating, and the man with glasses informs them, "The Don has teased everyone. Don has occupied this building. Everyone is worried because of him." The man also tells him he lives on the top floor, and the officers leave him there while making him understand. They reach the top floor. As they reach there, there was silence. The female officer sets a bomb there, and the man with the glasses reaches there. He says loudly, "Sir, do you want this shotgun?" The officer comes in anger hearing this, and there was firing on the top floor. The officer we saw at the start, the bullet shoots him, and the female officer moves to him, and there was the bomb wire in her hand. The bomb blasts there. The officer becomes injured because of the blast. Meanwhile, a man from a room appears while taking the gun. The officers have no other way, and they surrender in front of the man. The man with the glasses arrives and says to the man, "Fight with me if you have courage." The man fires at him after hearing him being furious. He ends him. A man from a room comes out, and he was the right hand of the Don. Now we will call this man the right hand. The right hand of Don takes out their masks and checks their IDs. They discover they are police officers. Another man comes out of the room, and he was Don, the boss of everyone. The man who has ended the man with glasses is the younger brother of Don. Don says to the man, "The situation here is getting worse. Go and seal this building." The man moves according to his boss's orders and seals the building. During this, a man of Dawn takes them while pulling them to a room. The officers were sitting while turning to the wall. Dawn holds an officer and asks, "Tell me how many of your companions are here." A man is also shown beaten brutally by Dawn and kept in the washroom. The younger brother of Dawn ends the man while firing him in front of those officers. The right hand of Dawn appears from the toilet. The scene cuts, and the man is shown who was given the orders to seal the building. He asks his companions to shut the doors and windows. Meanwhile, a dog of a man runs while leaving the rope. Then they hear the voice like their dog is beaten by an animal brutally. The men close the doors and windows, and the scene cuts, and Dawn is shown again. He was asking the officers, "Why have you come here?" Then an officer named Wessam comes up to you and says, "We have come here to put an end to you." Wessam says, "We are only 4 who come here," but Dawn hears the voice of a blast. He says, "You are lying," and the officer whom we saw at the start has shot a bullet and was injured, and Dawn points a gun at his head. He shoots him after some time. He ends him, and then the scene outside the building is shown, and some shadows are shown there. They were moving speedily here and there. They notice the weird voices from the toilet where they have ended the man. Dawn asks his man to open the door, and as he opens the door, a hand appears from it and it captures the man. Then it eats the man completely. He was the man ended by Dawn's brother. Seeing the situation, they start firing at the man. They were firing, but it doesn't affect him because now the man has changed into a zombie. Dawn asks his men to end the man. When they go near him, he bites them and throws them far. The right hand of Dawn also hits the zombie. It doesn't affect him and then Dawn picks his shotgun. He fires at the head of the zombie. Zombie dies after it. Later, Dawn asks his men to see the situation outside. When his companion sees outside a zombie pulls him. Dawn and his right hand move out from there. The officers were still in the custody of Dawn's brother. The men who were bitten by the zombie also change into a zombie. They come out being scared. There wasn't peace outside, there were many zombies. The officers along with Dawn's brother come to the roof. They shut the door. They stay there and Officer Wessam sees downside he finds many zombies downside and they were trying to move inside this building. Wessam notices as a zombie bites a human he changes into a zombie. Dawn was also with them and Wessam says to Dawn, "Look, listen to me. Many of our companions have died. Now we have to work together." The female officer forbids Wessam and says, "Are you mad? He is our enemy. Are you talking about compromise with him?" Wessam tells the female officer that we can be saved if we reach an agreement with him. We have to do compromise with him. Dawn agrees and gives them guns while saying, "Look, we 6 have to move out of the building safely." They were moving from the stairs to each floor. There was darkness and silence as well. Suddenly, a zombie pulls an officer of Wessam from behind. The female officer shouts and moves behind him. 2 more zombies come there and start chasing them. The police officer Wessam, Dawn, and his brother hide in a room. The right hand of Dawn gets stuck in the zombies. The right hand of Dawn fights with zombies and hits them hard. The door opens and they pull the right hand inside. The zombies have bitten his foot. The police officer Wessam says to Dawn, "I have to go out in search of my companions." Dawn says they'll be over soon. Maybe the zombies have eaten them. Wessam was ignoring Dawn, but Dawn says, "Now you have to obey me because you are alone. Your team has been ended." The scene cuts and the female officer is shown. Dawn was considering the companions of Wessam dead, but the female officer was alive. She was ending the zombies here. Zombies were chasing her and she throws the fridge on the zombies. She finds her companion officer who was sitting silently in a corner. She sees him and he was bitten by zombies. She points a gun at his head and says, "You can stay alive for a short time." He was saying to the female officer, "Don't end me." Then he picks a shotgun from there. He hits it on her head. He hits the shotgun on her head and her head hits with a pillar. She gets faint while falling down. Dawn is shown with his companions and they have come to the ground floor of the building. They find an old man there ending the zombies with his axe. They get shocked seeing him. Meanwhile, they start talking to the old man who was standing at a distance. Don asks the old man, "Who are you?" The old man says, "I am a postman," and then finds a bite mark on the foot of Don's right hand. The old man asks Don's team to move with him. Seeing the right hand's wound, he says this is deep and he was feeling he will bandage him easily. The old man was making it clean with huge scissors. The old man says to him, "Now I have to cut your foot." But the right hand says, "Are you mad? How can anyone cut someone's foot?" Police officer Wessam says, "Yes, this foot should be amputated. There isn't any solution except for this." The old man keeps insisting that the foot should be severed. Meanwhile, Don's brother is about to shoot him, but Don shouts and quiets everyone. They gradually come out of the room and try to exit the building. Zombies approach, and they fight off the zombies along the way. A door opens, and a police officer from Wessam's team comes out and becomes happy to see his companion. He asks, "Are you alive?" Then he inquires about their female officer. The female officer arrives and shoots her companion officer with her gun, as he was bitten by zombies. Wessam is about to shoot the female officer, but Don says, "You can't shoot her. Everyone's life is important here." They find a lift, and the female officer suggests, "Let's go." She moves forward. The lift has space for only 2 people, and Don's brother points a gun at him. He says, "Right hand and I will go in this lift." Don says, "Have you gone mad?" His brother insists on doing it and orders the right hand to take guns from everyone. They enter the lift, taking guns from everyone. They hear someone shouting, and the old man says, "I told you his foot was bitten by a zombie. He would have turned into a zombie and eaten Don's brother." Don becomes disappointed hearing this, and Wessam says to Don, "Look, now this is my team. You have to obey my orders." They reach the main gate and see many zombies at the entrance. The old man tells them that the exit door is on the other side. He leads them to his room and says, "There is a surprise for you." He takes out various weapons from his cupboard and gives them to Wessam's team. Don asks, "You are a postman?" The old man says, "Yes, I am a postman who supplies weapons." They move out from there and shoot at the zombies while making their way, but they notice that the entrance gate is also broken, and the zombies have entered. Wessam's team goes into the parking area and tries to close the door to prevent the zombies from getting in. However, a zombie bites Wessam's hand. Don sees his brother's bag and follows it. He finds his right hand chewing and eating his brother. Don becomes furious, picks up a shotgun, and tries to kill his right hand. The bullets don't affect him, so Don hits his hand against the wall, and his right hand dies. Later, they contemplate how to escape from the zombies. Wessam suggests they move towards the exit door and says, "I will divert all the zombies towards me. I know I will not escape and will turn into a zombie." Don disagrees, but Wessam insists, "Don't worry about me. Just take them from here." They are hesitant, but Wessam shouts loudly, urging them to leave. They run towards the exit door, and Wessam runs towards a car. As he reaches the car, he climbs on top of it. The zombies surround him, and he fires at them with guns in both hands. The zombies continue to climb up the car, but Wessam shoots them, preventing them from reaching him. The 3 survivors run towards the exit door with the zombies in close pursuit. The old man uses his shotgun to kill the zombies along the way. Finally, they reach the exit door, but they struggle to open it. Meanwhile, Wessam fights off the zombies with his last bullets, resorting to using his knife when ammunition runs out. However, the zombies overpower him, biting him until he succumbs to his injuries and dies. The scene shifts back to the 3 survivors, who are being chased by the zombies. In a desperate act, the old man places a bomb in a zombie's mouth and detonates it, sacrificing himself to take out a group of zombies. Don and the female police officer manage to emerge from the exit door somehow. The morning comes, and to their surprise, there are no more zombies around. They look around and see that the building has been completely destroyed. Don sits in silence, and the female officer points her gun at his head. She reminds him, "Let me remind you, in case you forgot, that we came here to end you. She pulls the trigger, and Dawn is killed. The female officer's thirst for vengeance is finally satisfied. Now, only she remains, the sole survivor, as the movie concludes.
Make sure you subscribe and turn on notification to watch more videos like this and show us support for our effort. Take care.